Texas or Arkansas, or cats in a junkyard. I think seeing people who especially for community theater, doing something with a lot of energy and playing other characters who are different from their own lives, I think that is something exciting. It's kind of like the Halloween thing. Everybody wants to be somebody else for one night on Halloween. It's the same thing. They love to see people, making fools of themselves and being, tragedy characters or whatever. And they say, I know that guy. And he's up there doing it. And he's not a trained actor. And they go, I want to try that too. And that's, I think, what community theater is about as opposed to professional. No pay. So why are you doing it? You're doing it for the fun and the camaraderie. But to see your friends up there and saying, I can't believe he's doing that. And they either say, I can't do it, but I'll come and enjoy you, or do you think there's a spot for me backstage on makeup, or do you think I could sing a little bit? I think that's what it's all about.
Texas has a whorehouse in it. Lord have mercy on our soul. Texas has a whorehouse in it. Lord have mercy on our soul. I'll expose the facts, although it fills me with disgust. Please excuse the filthy dark details and carnal lust.
The character that I'm playing is much bigger than anything I've ever played. I've always tended to play the kind of sad sack that people go, oh, about. This character I'm playing now is right off the wall. He's a kind of a TV evangelist. So I get to be big and yell, scream, shout, and do the whole religious revival thing almost. So that's been new for me. That's been a growth for me, because it takes a lot to get that big, for me anyway, because I'm not that way in real life. So that's what I've learned so far. I haven't done it yet, so we'll see how successful it is, but it's exciting.
Oh, well, that's about as mild as I can make it, friends. But why don't we just call it what it is? Yeah. Let's get this thing out in the open. Yeah. This thing ain't to telling it like it is. Ah. Well, here goes, and God forgive me.
I think the best quality, and it might sound like a cliche, is truth on stage. You have to be truthful, even if it's a comedy and you're playing, an overdone kind of character. There has to be a sense of truth where the audience will accept it. Also, I think in musicals, a good singing voice and a very loud speaking voice. I think those are about three of the main things, and good movement.
Makes people think that I'm very nervous, but it's not true. I know dead nuts what I'm going to say, do, every movement I'm going to make each time, with every word, with every action. The only thing I might do is perhaps run over a few lines, but someone told me once that if you get out there and you find that you're blanking out, just let your entire body go on autopilot, and your mouth will sing the right words and your body will do the right actions. So there's no need to be nervous.
I don't hire no married girls, they're not on the ball. Oh, they've got homes and husbands, they're not stable at all. They don't understand a simple thing about a proper business day. Now what's the point of opening up the store if you give the goods away?
Yeah, you're together for about 4 months, about 6 hours a week at the start, and the last week you're there every day for 4 or 5 hours a day. So by the end, you get to know people pretty well, certainly on a professional level pretty well. And sometimes other ways as well too. The friendships can start forming and so on. Yeah, it's a really exciting time to meet people and to really respect the work of other people too. That's what I've noticed in this show so far. Last week I heard a number that I hadn't heard before, and a singer that I hadn't heard before, and I thought, wow, she's wonderful. And isn't that exciting, that she's going to be in this show with us, and that's a really good feeling.
Someone
town that I've never been. I wanted to.
That's a nice attitude. Good.
I wanted to, but I never could.
That's all you're doing.
Don't see me plain as gray, respectable. Don't see me day by day, respectable. Don't see me one nobody thinks of having dreams. Ain't as simple.
I was the one who said, if you want to do so many things, why don't you just create a theater company, and then I can also be a part of it, and that way we can do this together. And that's basically how it started, and we've been doing it together since then.
True.
Theater Live started in June 1986. Brian and I were the founders. 2 years after that, we incorporated with a board and memberships, and it's grown strong ever since then. We've done 12 productions now since the beginning, and there's been a real growth that I've seen in the organization itself. It's not just Brian and myself, it's grown to a 12-board panel, and they have, through the years, become more and more involved in the production aspects and also the business aspects. So it's really helped things grow. The main focus for this show is to be organized, and I think that we've already accomplished that. And you know, the last month that we have to opening, I can just see it getting easier and better for everyone.
I look at a whole bunch of shows, I listen to albums, I try to get a feel for something that's just being released to have a look at, so we can be hopefully the first ones to do it. So it's not something I've done 20 times or somebody else has done. And with Best Little Whorehouse, it was never done in Windsor before. It reads very well. It's an enjoyable show. The music's excellent, and I thought it would be a really good show and a little different for our group. We try to do different types of shows all the time. There are several things laid out in the contract in terms of what you have to put on the poster. You have to give recognition to the writers, and you pay rights, of course. You pay a lot of money to get permission from New York to do the shows. Just to get that box of books for royalties, it's astronomical, especially when the American money, like it is right now, almost at 40%. You really have to sell a lot of tickets. There's a lot of pressure to just get started. People don't understand that. They say, well, where does the money go? You must have made a lot of money in a show. But we can pay from $5,000 to $7,000 per show for a box of books before we even make a costume. There are several stages of development with a musical, starting with actually me picking the show, and then my wife, who produces the whole show, has a line on all aspects. We have a production meeting, and we get, first of all, we secure the rights from New York, and Florence sits everybody down, every head, like the costume head, makeup head, set builders, etc., set design, lighting, and she lays out the process. We do a read-through of the show around the table with the 4 or 5 people who go from beginning to the end. We cast the show, we do the auditions, we cast the show, we have a read-through with the whole cast, so they familiarize themselves with the whole script, and then I start with music rehearsals. I have a music person who comes in, and she teaches all the music, and we go from there.
1, 2, and 1. 1, 2, 1. One more time, just through that part, please.
It's great when you actually have all the parts together and it's coming through, and your ideas that you've put forth come across and they work, and you can see that they're working. And the other upside is that I have a lot of the people from the chorus coming up to me and telling me how much they've learned just through our little practices, learned vocally and to use their bodies when they, you know, the whole musical mechanism that they have to use in order to sing. And it's enjoyable when they come up and let me know that they've actually got something out of it. for myself, I think that it's always good to, whenever you teach somebody else, you always learn something from it too. And humility is one of those great things that you learn when you come to this kind of thing, and keeping and being able to criticize constructively, and let people know that you're there to help them and not to hurt them or not to compete against them. We're all working together for a common goal, and it's not a bunch of individuals trying to strive to be better than one another.
So would you please just sing the ladies part in your head so that you know exactly what you're going to start on? Can you try one more time, please? Everybody sing all four parts. Here we go. 1, 2, and 1.
Jazz ensemble, Matrix, and it's just a cross-section of the community. It ranges from 17 years of age up to 65, and it's university students, line workers from Fords, people who manage businesses, just a real cross-section. Prior to the show, and we're going approximately 3-4 nights a week for anywhere from 2-3 hours each. On Sunday, we had a rehearsal from 1 o'clock till 6 o'clock, so that was a good rehearsal. And plus the individual's private practice that they do at home before coming to the rehearsal. I couldn't give you a real amount of hours and minutes breakdown, but everybody's different, but it's quite a bit.
The biggest dance number we did was the Aggies, with the fellows as the football team, and it was kind of difficult to do because while they were dancing, they had to change from one outfit completely into another outfit. They got out of their football outfits and got into their clothes, and they were also singing at the same time, so it was kind of complicated. They kept asking for more dance. Can't we do this? Can't we do that? And I kept trying to explain to them, but you're going to be changing. You don't realize you have like football gear on. Oh no, but we want to do more. And I tried to keep it as simple as I could. And when we did come down to dress rehearsal, when they had to do the actual change, they were in a real panic because they didn't realize just how difficult it was to sing, change your clothes, and dance all at the same time. But they did a really good job. It came down. Coming down to the wire, it worked out. With the girls, we were trying to look for a sort of a seductive look, which took a while to get because some of them had a very difficult time with the hip movements and everything. And also the same thing, singing. Some of them had never had any dance before, so they had to sing and they had to dance and they had to find a pattern, because I tried to do a lot of patterning in it when you have very little. I wouldn't say dance talent, but when you have very little training, what we try to do is keep the steps as simple as possible and use patterning to make it more interesting.
really don't think a lead, say, would get a better costume than someone in support, because the lead should have enough presence and enough motions and enough ability not to have the costume do the work for them. My own philosophy about costuming in that area is to not even allow people to wear costumes till the very last dress rehearsal, last 2 dress rehearsals. There is a point where you have to get accustomed to the costume, but some actors will let the costume do the work for them. And they should really get their imagination going first. Let the costume be that is the final piece just before the makeup. It's basically street clothes with a Western flair. So what we did was coordinate all of the donations that we'd received. Plus we sent people out to secondhand places to buy specific things, like the yellow dresses you see in the one Watchdog number. Those were all bought in the same 2-week period. We scoured every secondhand shop till we got those, I think it's 8 yellow dresses. You get a cast list, you record the number of changes that each character has to go through, and you work out the number of costumes you're going to need. We do coordinate with the set designer, and in Theatre Live it's always been a necessity, because our sets are normally pretty elaborate, and if our costumes are elaborate, they have to complement each other in all aspects. So Phil and I do talk a great deal about what we're looking for. Like originally for Texas, we had talked about using a cartoon approach. Everybody would be bright and cartoonish, and eventually, because the set was so realistic, that we toned some of the cartoon aspects down and tried to make let the singing and the dancing and the acting carry the day, and make the street clothes work a little bit more.
If the set doesn't grab you when the curtain goes up, or if there is no curtain and you walk in there, you've got to be blown away by what you see, or you've already got your resistance is built up, because you can usually tell. If the set is kind of amateurish, then there's a connotation that's automatically thrown on the actors even before they start to speak. And I think that that's something I've always tried to do, is come up with sets that are so elaborate or more stimulating than what they would expect, so people get more for their buck than they think they're going to get. Basically, I know the way Brian likes to direct, and I know on these big chorus numbers and that he likes a lot of stairs and lots of keyholes and windows and doors that people can come in and out of, and little crevices that they can crawl out of and things like that. So I tend to design sets that work that way, because that's one of the things that after you've done enough stuff with a director, you sort of understand the way they think and they understand the way you think, and so they complement each other. The set is sort of like a painting. It's never done until the thing is up there on the stage, and whatever I've got on paper, if it doesn't look like that when it's on the stage, that's fair ball. It's just we're all working together as a team. This isn't what I envision, and I'm working to place this up on the stage so much as I'm bringing some of the ideas to the forefront. Everybody's working together to do this. I think the biggest challenge in any set is to try and harness your imagination and keep it in budget. Like that's always in community theater, it's always a problem, because money's always really tight. We've got some really good people that work with us on this. Leo has been just phenomenal, and his whole crew are great. And I think when you're dealing with people of that caliber and that are that professional, you get a lot more things done a lot faster, and it just seems to work. There's less guesswork.
Just to give you an example, it's
21 feet high.
21 feet.
21 feet high. It's about 40 wide and 12 deep. Now, in order to do something of this caliber, it would take like 3 weeks of actual theater stage time, and that area, that space has been rented out to other people.
But costly.
Yeah, costly. So what we've done is we've come up with a modular system that this will be taken down in about 20 pieces, actually, maybe 30 at the most, and it's basically screwed together. We should be able to put it back together in one day.
It's like a jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah.
When you do go take a look, the pieces are numbered.
Yeah, everything's numbered.
Floor's numbered.
Right. So when we take it down, it'll be in sequence. It'll be packed in sequence and re-erected. in reverse.
Okay. Hopefully.
Hopefully.
Yeah, this is called, it's the stylist said it's a unit set. So the audience constantly sees one thing on stage. In this case, it's the exterior of the Whorehouse, of Mona's place. And so obviously we see the front porch, the doors, the exterior, the big chicken ranch out front. And what happens when you change locations, there's smaller little suggested sets. For example, there's a coffee shop that appears twice in the play. All that is lighting change. Light comes down on the unit set, downstage of it, a little tablecloth, 4 chairs, and it's a mere suggestion of another location. For the interior scenes, a settee will be brought out stage left and a chair. Matter of fact, for the opening of the show, on the other side there might be another little chair and a table to suggest interior. Okay, so lighting really has a lot to do with, change of location. Stuff comes off stage, all the exterior stuff, suddenly lights come back up, we're outside again.
I would imagine a just ballpark figure without looking at anything. We've kept materials down to a minimum, and in the modular building, it keeps it down. The use of all kinds of crazy crossovers and lumber and everything else. So I would think a couple of $1,000 off top of my head.
And there's lots of ways to cheat, like, rather, for example, the roof is made out of a product 10 test, which you'll see when you drive by new houses at times, you'll see this black material that covers the walls. That's 10 test. It's tar, impregnated sawdust with tar.
Right.
And it's very inexpensive, at about $4 a sheet. Yeah. And yet the roof, all the little whorls that you'll see on the roof, the shutters, the bottoms of the doors, the little strips that you'll see on the front to create the wood effect, it's all 10 test.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you definitely have to economize, because it can become astronomical, the cost. So we're always searching ways to cut corners and to cheat a little bit.
But at the same time, it's an accepted method of set construction. It's used all the time. It's actually a lot of fun. It's like putting together a puzzle.
It's really nice to realize a drawing and a little model, and to finally see it come to life. That's where the gratification comes in, really.
Yeah.
It is hard work, but boy, when you're finished, it's well worth it.
Sure.
It's essential that the lighting designer gets together with all of the artistic heads long before the show is even cast, ideally. Before the show is cast, the heads of lights, sound, costume, set, and the artistic director, in this case Brian, should all be getting together and finding a common direction. Communication before the show ever even goes up is even more critical than during the show. Otherwise, you run into a lot of problems with putting your design together. Ideally, the show you see on opening night is the same show that you'll see on closing night. You're looking for a consistency there. So once we have all of the looks, then we bring the actors into the picture. Now, the actors have had a fair amount of time to work on their roles. They've been in rehearsal for many months at this point. The technical people only get 1 week to get their act together. If I want to pick somebody out in a crowded scene, I can just make their light a little bit brighter than everybody else's, and subconsciously your eye will be drawn to them. And that's much more, that's a much more nifty trick, I think. And I'm a very subtle lighting designer, I think. I hope I am. If attention is being drawn to my lighting, chances are I'm not doing my job very well. But I think it adds significantly to the mood and the theme of any show.
Our show is going to be performed at the Capitol Theatre, which is becoming the home for a lot of community theater groups. And needless to say, we opened at the Capitol 3 years ago. Ours was the first show on stage. And since we've been there, it's been a good experience, because rather than worrying about fixing up the place. All we do now is worry about our productions. The theater itself is a good size, about 580 seats, which is a good size for us. It's not too big, but not too small. It's actually perfect for us.
A professional has to be on everything. Tonight I want you on.
20 beds were turned in, they were turned in. 20 beds were turned in every room. Theaters were burned in, they were burned in, and you had to have a way to move down. 20 beds were humming, they were humming. 20 beds were humming in every room. People were coming, they were coming, and you had to have a way to move down.
Once you've tasted it and really got involved with it, the people, the entire organization works for one common goal, and that's for a good production. And it's a lot of fun. It gets in your blood, and you just keep coming back for more.
I like the people. Being in a city like this, you have to kind of hunt out people that are interested in what you're interested in, and that's where they all are.
We're rewarded because we're hams. We love the applause. We love being up there. We love acting and dancing and singing. You're a ham, and you love doing it. Yes, of course it is.
People need entertainment. They need to see shows. People like to go to shows. This is a big town for theater. It really is. People support it. When you think you can go to Toronto or Detroit, and people do, but they support local theater, or the groups wouldn't be around. We've been here 9, light opera 45 years. That's, I think, something fabulous and exciting, and I'm really happy to be a part of it.
Sell it, and I don't use names, but certain people are selling the hell out of it night after night, and they are going to get some good reviews, ladies and gentlemen. So sell your performance.
The coat room, and he locked the door.